Okay, I just want to say shalom, and I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to the Creator of heaven and earth and His only begotten Son. And I am doing this, um, as always, based on um, a few things that I, you know, came across or heard. Um, and something that I really within the last actually, it happens throughout your life, and I'm going to go into some scriptures. But the reason, that I'm doing this and why I do most of the videos that I do is because I have been blessed with a certain understanding of things. Sometimes when occurrences happen, the Most High, like He'll speak to you with certain signs and things, and a lot of times man does not perceive it, but um, as He has brought the truth and other things to my He has awakened me. I'm starting to learn how to listen to um, a lot of his the way that He speaks, and certain warnings and signs and things like that that He does give. I'm gonna go to a scripture, and I'm gonna start it off with um, let's see. I believe it is, yeah. Let's see. It's Job. Let me get my Bible. I guess I should have started with having my Bible right here, but this is Job 33:14. All right, Job 33 and 14. It says here, for God, but I say a higher, as I've explained in, other videos that I do say a higher because that is, I am in the Hebrew, as you read in Exodus. That is what He did say that His name was, what He told Moses. I don't go into why people say what they say. Like I said, as usual, there's always different things, but this is why I say what I say. And I do like to explain that. Um, this is Job 33 and 14. For a higher speaketh once, yea, twice, yet man perceiveth it not. And, you know, um, I can certainly testify that He certainly speaks and in certain ways, and He gives certain warnings, and he definitely speaks, but you don't perceive it. And then, as you read further down here, it does say that, in a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, and slumberings upon the bed, then He openeth the ears of men and sealeth their instruction. And, that, but He speaks in many different ways. And, some of the ways that He speaks certainly is in His visitation with certain things, as far as when you read in Genesis, when when Joseph said that He certainly will visit you, and of course He definitely did visit Egypt when He delivered the children of Israel out. And so when you read in Isaiah, it also talks about His visitation. And then I'm going to go to Psalms as well, and this is Psalms chapter 2, verse 5. Well, I'll start at 4. He's speaking of the nations and all the wicked, those that forget the Most High. But it's of course it's just talking about the wicked, the nations, and their crafty counsel, how they you know thought to destroy the children of Israel. You can read a precept to that in Psalms 83 and here in Psalm chapter 2. But I want to focus on the speaking. Okay. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. But I'm not going into that right now. That the reason that I went there was because I don't know, but I can certainly attest that the Most High does speak, um, in certain ways. Like he will, yes, and I can certainly attest once or twice, okay, he give you certain warnings here and there, and speaketh in certain ways through people, through incidents, through certain things. He will speak and give warning, and then he speaks in his wrath. You understand? So I don't know if but like I said, I can certainly say that there'll be certain little signs and certain things through people or certain things that happen, and then he'll just really speak to you in his wrath. So if you have wisdom, then you understand. Yeah, that's what that was. That was I should have listened. So I just I thank the Most High for his understanding. And but the point of all that was to just say that as I've mentioned before in some of my other videos, well, one in particular, and just in general, a lot of devices and things that we use are evidently, very clearly, from things that I've heard and also experiences, quite evident that, a lot of things that we use that we think are just for simple entertainment and things, um, really are more than that, for, monetarization and, things like that. But that is neither here nor there. The reason why I do things is because when certain things you'll be having certain conversation, or you just happen to see certain things several times over and over, and it's like, well, maybe um like I always say, like maybe because of that, I should biblically, my thoughts on certain things. I mean, that is, the point of these things. Like my concern with this channel, YouTube, and all this kind of stuff isn't, for a whole bunch of people and a whole bunch of this and that. My point is, and I'm going to use scripture. It is to, I'm going to go to, and I'm going to go through all this, but to say as to why, because I've seen a lot of things, and I've seen a lot of videos, and I hear a lot of things, and the once again, as I speak of always, the way that we deal with each other, and this time, this is not it's for the sisters, and it is for the men, the real men of the Most High, who are sincere, and any, you know what I mean, but seriously, the people who are sincere, um, about what the Messiah came to do, and what everything really that the wise understand that life is actually about, and what the Messiah came to make clear to those that have that wisdom, what it's about. Okay, and I'm gonna go into that, but um, I'm gonna go to Matthew. Um, Matthew. I really want to say it's chapter 10. Matthew. Yes, exactly. It's Matthew chapter 10 and verse 27. And it says, "What I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light. And what ye hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops." And verse 28, and I'll go to 28, but I really just wanted to go to 27. But 28, "And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell." So don't be afraid to speak, what and do what it is that you were awakened, those of who understand that, what you were awakened by the creator of heaven and earth to do. As you read in Ecclesiastes, fear the Most High and keep His commandments. That's the whole duty of man. But because of the situations, because of everything going on, as I always go into it, as the spiritual people have that understanding clearly, the children of Israel, what the situation is, was, and is to come. So you are not to fear. You are to do what you were sent to do, as John 15 to 16. The Messiah said, I have ordained you, and sent you to bring forth fruit, and that your fruit remain. So when I do things, I don't do things for necessarily for popularity of anyone. Most likely most people that I know in particular don't watch my videos. I mean, and it's not for that. It is for just that. To also, I'm gonna go to something in Ezekiel right quick. Okay, this is Ezekiel 37:9. Then he said unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Lord God, as it says here, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied, verse 10, so I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into me, and they lived, and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army. 11. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. 12. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, O my people, I will open your graves, and cause you to come up out of your graves, and bring you into the land of Israel. 13. And ye shall know that I am the Lord, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves. 14. And shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall ye know that I, the Lord, have spoken it, and performed it, saith the Lord. Okay, and so I went through all that just to simply say that, once again, I realized certain things, especially, since I've been doing certain videos and things like that, and just everyday life anyway. A lot of things I didn't realize when I was in the state of sleep before the Most High blessed me and opened my eyes and opened my understanding and called to remembrance, who I am as I am and our people are, as He's doing in these days, as is prophecy. But my purpose of doing things isn't to have 100,000 subscribers, and it isn't to, have so many likes in this, because I've realized, I'm just really starting to see a lot of things about many, many things. So just as I said before, a lot of devices and things that we use, it's pretty evident what the situation is with that. And so I'm not going to go into detail. That isn't the point, but the point is to do as I have been commanded to do. And I had sad to say, pretty hot and cold, but this person, was in the world what I would have called a friend, good friend. She had a lot of wisdom, but certain ways of the world, I guess, still hot and cold, couldn't let go of certain things and things like that. But she said, one thing, when the Most High tell you something, just as we have read in Matthew, and He give you that word, you better speak, okay? And that's just what it is. And that's why I also went into Matthew 10, and read those scriptures, because it's just 100%. You better do it. Fear the Most High, and when He gives you a certain understanding, He doesn't do it for no reason. I'm a woman. I'm certainly not, intention isn't to teach or anything like that, but as you read in Acts, He said that He is going to pour His Spirit on His hand, the Spirit of prophecy. And not to say that I'm a prophet or anything like that, no, but I'm just saying that, when the Most High opens your understanding of things, just as He said, and He has revealed things, these dark sayings to, people and things like that, you proclaim it upon the rooftop. So that is what your God, the creator of heaven and earth, that is what He's commanded you to do. And so that's why I'm doing this. And something that I heard and have been hearing, like I said, He speaks once, He speaks twice. When you start hearing, come across things, or you just, comment on certain things like that, I just figured that maybe biblically, I would speak on it. It's a lot of in the after of all that, to get to the point of something that I noticed, and I actually did do a video on this before, but I think I'm just going to kind of really focus on it. And this is about, once again, as I said, it is about the sisters, and but it also is about, you know, the men, the real men, the sincere men, because as you read in John, St. John chapter 4, okay, the Most High is a spirit, and those that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. And the Father seeketh such to do that, to worship him in spirit and truth. And I'm gonna go to the point of this one. This is um, several times, I've been hearing things, and it seems like there's a kind of a biased, one-sided, seems like kind of like an agenda, it seems like, towards the sisters, especially when you want to consider like conscious sisters and things like that. And it's like, why are, and like I said, it's just all kinds of topics about it all the time, and but this is based on a couple of things, like the reoccurring things that I've been hearing and seeing and things, and it's been years and years of hearing, why are there so many single, quote unquote, black, or what you would call African American women, things like that, why, and single parent homes. And like I said, I've done a video on this, but I'm just gonna, just kind of want to go into some things. Now, first of all, as I always often go to, is Isaiah chapter 1, because our people do not, and some of the things that I hear, it's like some people should know, you know what I mean, or they know that who we are. So then if you know who we are, then you know that we're being judged. But our people in general don't consider that. They don't consider that we're being judged. So I'm going to go to Isaiah chapter 1. And I go here often, but it's very relevant. It's just also relevant. This is Isaiah chapter 1. And Isaiah chapter 1, and I could start at verse 1, but I mean, just to kind of really get to the point. I'm going to go to 2. I will start at 2. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 2. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Lord, as it says here, have spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me. Verse 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doth not know. My people doth not consider. Ah, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One of Yashar'Allah unto anger. They are gone away backward. Verse 5. Why should you be stricken any more? You will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. Verse 6, from the sole of the foot even unto the head, there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises and putrefying sores. They have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. Your country is desolate. Your cities are burnt with fire. Your land, strangers devour it in your presence. And it is desolate, as overthrown by strangers. Verse 8, and all this is very relevant, but this is, verse 8, and the daughter of Zion is left as a cottage in a vineyard, as a lodge in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city. Okay, and so that is extremely important. So most of the people in the conscious people in the community. They have come across the the Willie Lynch letter, The Making of a Slave, and you know, I've heard some things like, well, it's not necessarily true, but I mean that's neither here nor there, and it isn't the focus necessarily. But there are certain points in there, you know, and if anyone has ever read that, you know, it is something interesting to read. And when you know, the there's a focus. Why I said that was the what we just read in verse 8 about the daughter of Zion and a besieged city, and something that I go to often in Matthew, um, and Mark too. You know, a nation divided against itself cannot stand. I'm gonna get that too. Just to reiterate this verse 8, and why I mentioned that that document or that book. Hang on one second. Okay, and I could. It's in Matthew. I like to get that one too, but this I'll just go to Luke for now because it really, you know, this is what I want to bring out. Okay, this is Luke chapter 11 verse 17. But he knowing their thoughts, it was something going on as they were tempting the Messiah, as you know, the Pharisees, they were sitting there, they did meantime, and the Sadducees, they did that. So, um, you know, in verse 16, it talks about that's what they were doing. This is what's going on in the conversation. But verse 17, but he, knowing their thoughts, said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and a house divided against a house falleth. Okay, and the desolation part, that's what I want to get into. Really want to talk about. When a house is divided against itself, so as we know, a household, I could even go to Matthew, but I think this is good for now. When a household is divided and the man is taken out of the household and the woman is left, she and the children, they're left desolate. So especially in this society, you know, but I won't get into that. That's not what I'm going to. But the point is though that is indeed the case. When a woman is left desolate, you know, naturally. So like I said, you know, that's why I mentioned that document. And most conscious people have read that and they know about, you know, what that says and things about having deliberately, purposely desolating the woman and the children. Okay, and naturally, as Hebrews, as Israelites, and in general, in nature, a woman is dependent upon a man. And so when that is taken out of order, all things are out of order. Just as we understand that the man is the head, and the body cannot properly operate naturally without the head. I mean, that's just a given. And I'm gonna go to Corinthians. This is why I say that it is because it seems like there's a particular attack on one's sister. So like I said before, now this isn't a physical, the chain, you know, it's not physical slavery per se. It is, but there's a clearly spiritual and mental bondage of our people. And spiritually, there seems to be a attack on what I would perceive sisters. And like I said, when I view these things, it's usually so if you're a conscious quote unquote sister, you know, and you start to, you know, there's certain things that you come from and you see, and initially you're like, yeah, you know, that is true, you know, but then it's like a constant thing, as if this whole situation with our people is solely based upon the negligence of the single mothers. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, oh, all this, you know, is because, you know, you single mothers are raising these, you know, and you know, I mean, it's bad, and it is well, if you're a single mother, you know, you failed in life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just, and in some ways you can look at certain things, but the reality is one thing that I never do, and as the scriptures say, take out the moat, especially the men of our that say these things, and take the beam out of your own eye, okay, before you cast them. I don't want to mess up the scripture, but basically, in other words, like, make sure that you're right before you're saying certain things, which is why I myself personally, with any situation, with any person, anything, one thing that I don't do is I don't just point and say, oh, this, that, and the third, because you never know what a person's situation is. You don't know what their life has been like. You don't know anything. I mean, in some cases that may be the case, but usually you don't. And a lot of people are always so quick to be so judgmental of others when they themselves are not right. But besides that, you don't always know what a person's particular situation has been. You don't know. So I don't do those things. I don't do that. But what I am saying is there's a lacking of understanding. This is for the sisters. When you come across things like that, it's to understand it. And like I said, I'm just prophesying to the wind because, once again, I see that the extremely controlled environment of everything, period. So, who this gets to is who the Most High has it intended um, to for that to happen. Because I even, as I mentioned in another video, I even see sisters doing it. Oh, you chose the wrong man, this, that, and the third, and But how can you? Here's the thing. Let's go to Corinthians. Go to Corinthians 11. Okay. This is 1 Corinthians 11 and 1. Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Christ. As it says in Christ. Now I praise you, brethren, that ye remember me in all things, and keep the ordinances as I delivered them to you. Verse 3. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is the Most High. Okay. Now I could go into Ephesians chapter 5. I could go into um I think it's Colossians. All right, so many scriptures. But even just in general, in nature, once again, it's evident that the man is the head. Okay? Period. When we go to Peter, and I know that a lot of women, because in this society, and also that ties into that document that I was talking about. Okay, it's by design. Okay, that society grooms you to be independent, and as if to feel like it's a certain kind of lacking if you are dependent on your man, but you're supposed to be dependent, and it's also, especially in our music and things like that, and the TV and the programs, you know what I'm saying. But in reality, it promotes an independence towards women, and that it promotes this the music, it promotes like this contempt for the women, and it promotes this idea of women are gold diggers, and they only want to use you for this, and they only want to use you for that, and so just screw that hoe, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? It's like it doesn't give the men the idea of being a man, taking care of your woman, taking care of your family. It gives the idea of these hoes ain't worth nothing but that for the night, and that's all you don't be taking care of these, and they just, what I'm saying. And anyone in reality knows that, especially like when I was coming, like that's just the reality, especially like in the 90s and 2000s. Like that was the idea that was pushed. The idea that was pushed was sisters don't, women, they give you the idea of calling yourself a B, and like that's cool, and it was men don't love these hoes, and you know what I'm saying. It was just this whole idea of, oh, they, you know, a real B don't need a man and just get them for this and go ahead because they not work. See, that was the whole idea that was promoted. So what that does is it changes the natural order of things, because yes, you do need a man. I mean, I don't know, like I said once again, and then also if it didn't come at you that way, it came at you in a way of, you know, make sure you get your degree so that you don't have to need a man, and you know what I mean, make sure you can take care of yourself, because a man ain't gonna do nothing but leave you, and you are, you as you as so a man thinks so he is. Okay, so when that's constantly promoted to you, and that idea is constantly that a man is gonna leave, and the man is promoted to the men, don't stick around because they are not worth it, and these hoes ain't loyal, and you know what I'm saying, it's just it's that's the whole idea of it. Like, so that leaves the woman desolate. And when you're like that and you're in that situation, you have to work, because the way the system is set up, you have to pay, you have to do those things. So then the children are left to be programmed by the programming box, and then you know what I'm saying? The men are just out doing what they want. And so, as I've mentioned before, all that to say this, that, and anybody, once again, if you're not under this strong delusion and you're in reality, like the reality is you do need a man. I mean, in this system, no, nobody wants to be no single parent. No, no, no. That isn't, and it's still promoted it with certain celebrities and things like that, where though yeah, they can do that, okay, because they got money. Okay, but in reality, the most people are struggling on a daily. So that it's not wise to be aspiring to be a single parent. But that is the idea that's promoted and pushed. Independent, you don't need a man, so make sure you get your degree, this, that, and the third. So in case he leave, you can do that. So you're always groomed with this thought of the man's gonna leave, and then the man is always groomed with this thought of, well, she don't need you, okay, and you don't have to be, you know what I'm saying? It is. I mean, like that is, like I said, especially in the music. When I was growing up, that was the idea that was promoted. So, um, then and also with in common conversation, once again, it's just common conversation that you know you don't make sure you're able to do this so that you don't need a man. Or it is, if you get pregnant, you're gonna have to do it on your own, as if you're just being groomed to know that the man's just gonna leave. So when men hear this and women hear this, it gives the man the idea that it's okay to do that, because that's just, you know what I'm saying, that's just what it is, and everyone knows that. Like you when growing up, you always was taught that it's going to be on you, woman, if you get pregnant, you know what I'm saying. So that gives the man the idea that it's just okay. And when you also constantly blame the woman for the single parent homes, it does the same exact thing. It does the same exact thing. It promotes the same exact idea that it's on you. It's your fault that the man has left. Um, Really, the reality is, and I'm gonna go into it. I'm gonna start going into some scriptures too about this. The reality of the situation is, it just seems like there's still this whole agenda of putting the man against the woman. Like, I can't reiterate it enough. Like what we just read in Luke, a nation divided can't stand. So we need each other. Like someone who constantly promotes those ideas of the man against the woman, either they totally lack understanding, which you know what, that just is the whole case right there. They lack understanding, because if they're intentionally doing it based on an agenda, or if they really just are ignorant, or don't have that understanding that's what it is. Okay, that is what you're doing when you constantly do that. And so the this, it seems like it's this thing to keep the man from being responsible. All right, I'm gonna go to another scripture. I'm gonna get something else. Okay, this is Deuteronomy 28, and I'm just going to go into why there are so many single parent homes. The reason why there's so many single parent homes isn't because just the women keep choosing the wrong man, and you could go into certain details if you want to about that. But the reason that there's so many single parent homes and the reason is we're going to go to Deuteronomy 28, okay? And we're going to go to verse 1. Okay? And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. Verse 2. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Verse 15, now I'm going to jump to. You can go through and read the blessings with verse 15. Okay, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Okay, and I'm going to go to verse, I want to go to, before I go to the main one. Let's see. Yeah, I'll go to verse 45. Cause see, I wanna go to I think it's verse 30. Let's see, verse. I'll, I'll go to verse 45. Okay. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. All right, 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Okay. Now let's go to. Okay, and so now I'm gonna go to verse 30. I might say verse 30 for something else that I another point that I want to get into, but yeah, so I'm gonna go to verse 54. So this is Deuteronomy 28 and 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and towards the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Okay. I mean, now when we went to verse 46, all right, now these things shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed. So that's why there's so many single parent homes. It's not only solely simply because these women just picked the wrong men, okay? It's because, once again, as I often go to in Isaiah 1, and I went all the way through verse 8 because verse 8 was very important, especially considering this. Okay, the daughter of Zion being is like a besieged city. Okay, and that is indeed the case. Okay, she's left desolate. All right. Um, that's what it also talked about. The women, and when I went to Matthew, okay, because a nation divided cannot stand, and then where there's desolation, then comes destruction. Okay, and so as we read, okay, it until thou be destroyed. Okay, and so when we're reading here, this is why. That's why, because our forefathers did not hearken, and as I often go to in Isaiah, we don't consider that we're being judged by our God because we don't keep the commandments. So, that's why there's so many single parent homes, not solely because women just keep choosing the wrong man. Okay, It's because our nation is being judged. And as I often go to as well, when we what what I mentioned in the beginning, okay, what the Messiah came to show you people, our people, okay, is to love one another. All right, that's the point. Okay, this is a spiritual thing. It's about loving one another. And a lot of things that women endure at the hands of men, especially an oppressed man, especially men who are have the wrath of the Almighty being poured out among them, have to endure is a lot. And then once again, it's not only, in some cases, it's not always just the men. I'm not gonna make it. I'm not here to do that. Keep putting the man against the woman. I'm here to um um as things have been shown to me of the Most High, try to bring some light to some things, because I'm actually starting to think that either it can't be this many unlearned people in a quote unquote conscious community, or whatever you want to, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Um, you can't continually blame stuff like that solely on the woman. It goes into, even when you want to go back to the garden, and when are the see, that's why our Messiah is the king, okay? Because he took on all of our sin, okay? And he did nothing because he's a real man. He's the king, okay? See, that is the example that our men need to be following, that of a real man. Okay. When Adam fell, and we're going to get that too, we're going to go into some of those scriptures, they all played like this, they all blamed something else, when the reality is that the fall of man, and we're going to get these, I'm gonna get all these scriptures, I'm going to get into that. But that's what I'm saying, is either when you're constantly just saying it's just a woman, either you're unlearned or there's an agenda. I mean, it's just one of those two things. And the agenda, I believe, is to once again keep the women desolate. And that's what that does. When you do that, it desolates the woman, because then she has to bear all of that. When that just simply isn't the case. The reason there's so many single parent homes is because of this. The curses of Deuteronomy. That's why. Okay, that's just that's the whole gist of it all. And then once again, as I went into what the Messiah came to do, is to teach you to love your neighbor as yourself. That's what he was telling you. This is the new commandment, that you love one another. So regardless of, in this society, the way people are brought up in this Babylonian society, which is this land of confusion, total confusion. All right. Regardless of what a situation is with a woman, where are the men? See, that's the question. What does a woman have to do with? And then once again, don't get me wrong, why I don't always just say whatever, because everybody's situation is different. This is a fiery trial for all those servants of the Most High. So women are going through this, and men as well are going through it. You know what I'm saying? So I can't always say, well, what does that have to do? Because I've heard certain situations of, where, like, women will be out of spite, do all these certain things, and try to keep the men from the children. So I can't always say that, but for the most part, that isn't the case. Usually it isn't. Sometimes, but it is not always the case. It's more often than not, the men just don't do what they're supposed to do. And that's just the truth. That is just a fact. I mean, once again, like I said, that is not always the case, but a lot, the majority of the time. Okay, and this is why. And then I'm gonna go into Amos. Because a lot of times, the women do play the harlot. I mean, but that also was judgment because of the men. And I don't want to go too off, but as I was mentioning, as far as with Adam, the fall of, let's get this. Let's get Wisdom of Solomon. Okay, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. Wisdom of Solomon, yes, chapter 2, verse 23. For how you created man to be immortal and made him to be an image of his own eternity. Verse 24. Nevertheless, through envy of the devil came death into the world, and they that do hold of his side do find it. Okay, so as you see here, the Most High created man to be an image of his own eternity. And why I went there was because I'm gonna go to Genesis now, but also, when you read in the apocryphal book of Adam and Eve, it wasn't until Adam took of that fruit that it was this whole thing, and they got kicked out of the garden. Okay, so the point being is that even though Eve was the one deceived, and I'm gonna get into that too, because I have something I want to bring out about that as well. But it wasn't until he partook of it, and that they were kicked out of the garden, and men, and as you read here in Wisdom of Solomon, that man fell. Okay, when we read up in let's get this. I was going to say second Ezra, but I don't. I mean, it is relevant, but it's not necessarily. Because once again, I just wanted to mention about how Adam. It's about Adam, like how how it says, from him come we all. So it's about him. What the Israelite man, so-called black man, must understand that yes, it's all about you. You are the head. You're the leader. It's just like with any situation. When any situation that you think of, if anyone has any kind of issue with anything, they go to the head. Say you're in a store or anything like that. If you have an issue with something in the store or an employee or anything, who do you ask for? You ask for the manager. You ask for the top. You ask for the head. The head is what runs it. Okay? And when we read in, is it also Isaiah? I think I'm gonna get it though, but it's talking about the whole head is sick. Israel. Okay, so that's the leaders, that's the leadership, but that's the men. And see, this is something that when I keep constantly hearing, you women, you know what I'm saying, and this and that. It's you men. Why you don't understand at this point that it isn't about the women? It's not. Yes, women play a very significant role, but you don't understand that that's your possession, and people don't like to hear some, certain, like I said, with all this, but women are your possession. They've been given to you, okay? They were made for you to complement and help you, but you are it. It's about you, so-called black man, okay? So-called man, it's about you. It isn't about the woman. You are the one that's responsible. Let's go to Genesis chapter 3. All right. Okay. And so when you go to 3 and 11, and he said, who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? And the man said, verse 12, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. And the Lord God said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. Okay, and then it goes into, what the consequences of all that was. But we're gonna go to what I want to go to. Verse 16, and unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband. He shall rule over thee. All right. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow thou shalt eat of it in all the days of thy life. And then it goes into, all the thorns and the thistles and things like that. But then they were kicked out of the garden. But it was not until Adam partook of it. Because Adam is the head. Adam was not supposed to listen to his wife. And even still, even when it comes to her, she was supposed to listen to the Most High. She was supposed to listen to her husband, but she was supposed to, but the whole thing was, the servant said, God said that. That's not true. So you were supposed to listen, and you are. That's the whole point of it. You're supposed to listen and hearken to the Most High. All right, and why we're in these conditions is because our forefathers didn't do that. So we're suffering out these curses. So that's the situation. But it just, once again, if you can't see that there's this whole thing of putting us against each other, that's an agendized type of thing, like, because it's just so much. I mean, if you can't see that, somewhere there's a lacking of understanding. So you can't totally blame this on the women. All right, because as I was going into, where are the men? All right, a man, as it tells you in First Timothy. Okay, let's get that. Let's get that too. All right, and I'm also going to go to something else in Timothy too that I want to get to, and I'm going to go to Peter's as well, because that desire being unto the husband, that just made me think of Peter also. All right, the woman is the weaker vessel. Now, that may sound offensive, but that's just the fact. Women are weaker physically, and emotionally. They fall, and I'm gonna go into that. I'm gonna go into that too. In Deuteronomy and in Exodus and in Josephus. Okay. This is 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8. But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. Okay, so if you love the Lord, and you're a man of faith, and you're about this, you are going to take care of your family. You're going to take care of your own. Okay? I mean, regardless of what happens with the wife or anything, see, this is what the men need to really, and see, this is why I wanted to go here. Like, it seems hard and it seems more, everything's easier said than done. And once again, as I always say, I don't just like to point, and I don't do that. I don't. Okay, because once again, I know everybody's situation is different. So but the men need to be men. Okay, and the women, okay, yeah, they got all this, and we all understand that. And once again, especially being brought up in a society where everything's out of order, it's a matter of understanding. Okay, we're coming out of judgment, so everything has been out of order. So it's a matter of understanding that. Even myself, I can't sit here in front and say that I, have not at certain times in my life been out of order. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't have that knowledge of the word. I didn't know. You know what I mean? Definitely, especially with the fearing a man and you know what I mean, giving a man. And see, I came from a 2-parent home, but my father was kind of, my mother, she ran it. Like, it's just the truth. I mean, very rarely, I think I can count maybe 2 times did he actually be like, look, woman, you know what I'm saying? Literally, from childhood to a way adulthood, I think maybe 2 or 3 times did I ever see that. So, the men are very, meek. Like, they're not bred. And once again, as I went into that, like I said, most people, conscious people, have heard or read of that Willie Lynch thing, but it's called The Making of a Slave or whatever. But that is in there. It does mention that. It talks about breeding that sort of thing, type of, but that, even besides that, okay, it just made me think of that. But when you go back to Genesis, when you go back there, it clearly says that Adam listened to Eve. He didn't usurp his authority and be like, listen, what is this? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? He didn't do that. And that's still to this day not being done. And that's something when we read in the scriptures. I was just, speaking on this scripture in Romans, I believe it is, like the things that are written aforetime are for our learning. I believe that's in Romans, but but yeah. So this is what we need to be doing, learning from our forefathers' mistakes, and not just keep doing that blame game. Okay, and this goes for women too. Like, once again, this is about a reality, and about I understand the whole situation. Like, a lot of people, and it's clearly evident that they just seem to love chaos and don't really seem to want to see, but that's it. We all know that that's written. This is prophecy. You know what I mean? Job 9:24. Okay, so but besides that, um a man should be usurping his authority. And see, a lot of our men, okay, when you go into those curses as well, even in Leviticus, and it tells you, that you're not able to stand, and run at the shaking of a leaf. So our men are very cowardly because of the situation. But the scriptures also tell you in Proverbs, the righteous stand bold as a lion, and the wicked flee when none pursue. So that's the main problem with our people. It's a lot of wickedness, and that's something that, once again, and I often go to, like, people don't like to hear that, and they don't like to acknowledge and examine themselves. But that is indeed the situation, especially with our people. It's just a lot of wickedness. So, the men, why you can't stand and be that, because it's wickedness going on. You know what I mean? And that's just, once again, if you want to live in that strong delusion that's been sent out upon the rebellious, then that's on you. But that is the reality of the situation. A man's supposed to stand, regardless of who it is, and stand for the Most High. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay, that's just, But I'm gonna go to because something that the sister, with even with the women, like the woman, when you want to talk about, and why I'm going here is to address certain issues, as far as, you'll look at and you'll see certain women have different children's fathers, or women go from man to man to man and things like that. When you're not shown and taught certain things, and you don't have this certain understanding, and it goes for both the men and the women, then that is, let me get it. Well, okay, so this is First Peter, chapter 3, and I'll start at likewise. So I'll start at 1. Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives, while they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear, whose adorning, let it be not that outward adorning of plaiting the hair and of wearing of gold or of putting on of apparel, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of Ahiah, or as I say, of God, of great price. For after this manner, in the old time, the holy women who also trusted in the Most High adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters ye are, as long as ye do well, and are not afraid with any amazement. See, that's something that I also want to, focus on, okay? Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. Okay, and I'll just read 8 though, but finally be ye all of one mind, having compassion one of another, love as brethren, be pitiful, be courteous, not rendering evil for evil, or railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing, knowing that ye are thereunto called, that ye should inherit a blessing. I really want to go through the whole thing because it's really good. But the point that I wanted to bring though is that the women are the weaker vessel. And as we read in Genesis, what happened with Eve? Okay, so now you're put under subjection. Your desire is gonna be to your husband. So, and there's another scripture, and I cannot think of where it is, but it kind of like it goes. It's a parable, but it's I think it says something about like as a woman in love or something like that. Like it basically is saying like when a woman, they're very emotional. So they, it doesn't take much at all for a woman to just straight fall for a man. Like I've mentioned before, when a woman gets with a man, see, and then I'm going to go into this in Deuteronomy and into Josephus and things like that, but, women are the weaker vessel physically and as far as emotionally. So it's natural for them to fall for a man and expect to be with this man forever, and pretty much to do. It's just a natural thing that a woman wants to please her man. Okay, that's why I told you in Genesis that her desire shall be toward her husband. So it's not natural for a woman to be alone, just like it's not natural necessarily. Now we're gonna go into some other scriptures though about the timing and like the holy spiritual advice that Paul gives, and also like what the disciples asked the Messiah about, it may not be best to marry, but we're considering what time we're in. But I'm just speaking of based on the subject matter though. Women naturally, of course they're gonna nobody wants to so this is the point, as the weaker vessel, like you have to remember that, and that is just the case. I mean, people can be in denial if they want to, but that is a true fact. All right, women's desire is to a man, like their whole main thing, and so we're gonna get into that too, about what I was just speaking of, as far as what Paul is saying. A woman's desire is to her man, like that's natural. So women, when you see women, but the point of what I want to get to about the emotional thing, like a lot of times, once a woman's been hurt, especially if they have a man and they see a man move on to, like, they just leave them for another woman, it's a kind of like naturally they want some kind of comfort, and then naturally, like men do the same thing too. If that happens, that's off though. But it's all of it's off. But still, you want to be with somebody. That's just when you're hurt, and this is like a known fact, and it's kind of a sick thing with our people is that men prey on that. Men prey on that. They do. They know that women are emotional and they're weak, or they'll hang around and act like they're friends and they really care, and we're gonna get into that in Josephus and things like that. And really their whole goal is just sex. You know what I mean? Like they don't have any intention on being with the woman. Okay, and so that's, once again, I'm gonna go into Deuteronomy as well. Like, so basically, I'm not excusing any type of behavior for women who do that, but that's why they do it. Because they're hurt by this person, hurt by that person, hurt by this person, hurt by that person. So naturally they do that, because most likely, usually, their intention isn't to break up. That isn't their intention. Their intention is to have a man and have love and have comfort. That's what they want, especially women who haven't grown up with a father in the home. That's definitely what they're seeking, for sure. So, you know, I just wanted to bring that out about women aren't taught this though. Like as you read in Titus, so a lot of women are out of order. They can't keep a man because they don't know. Sometimes, as well, like I said, I don't pass particularly any judgment when I don't know a whole story of anyone's particular situation. So you can't just generalize things and just be like, oh, it's with the single women, whatever. You know what I mean? You can't do that because you don't know. But that everything is out of order. So I'm gonna go to, well, I did actually already go to Genesis, but I just wanted to say that, like, women, they're in subjection to you men. Like, this is something that you so-called, but you don't seem to understand that. So it's beyond important for you to be righteous men of the Most High and remember Leviticus, okay? And Matthew, as the Messiah, is reiterating, and John, and Romans, and all throughout, okay, to love your neighbor as yourself, okay, because you wouldn't want anyone to mistreat or misuse or, do that to your mother, to your sister, to your auntie, to any woman that you love. Okay, and the reality is, you men, you know the things that you do to us women. You know it. I don't understand why I keep having to see men saying all this stuff about these women when they know how men do. You know how men do. And women are the weaker vessel. They are emotional creatures, and they are seeking the love, and their desire is to you men. So I don't understand why you act like you don't know that men do this to women. I don't understand that. You damage these women and wonder why women are damaged and say you women is messed up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's nuts. It really is. It doesn't make sense. It is men in this society who don't want to stand up and be men. They're womanizers. They're about sex. And then they put it on the woman. Okay? And that's the reality of the majority of the cases. Like I said, I cannot say that is always the case because it isn't. But most of the time, that is indeed the case. And yes, a lot of the women are out of order because they're not taught those. See, this is where the understanding comes in. You have to understand that we haven't been raised under the law of the Most High. That's for us. Once again, Israel doesn't consider that we belong to the Most High. And for order for us to prosper, we need him, and we need his law, and we need his ways. That's for us. Okay? So, but also, you have to consider, and I'm going to go into that too, but, so, let's just go to this. I'm going to go to Deuteronomy, because let's just go through this quick, because like I said, I've made a video on this, but, it's like I said, the Most High will, I don't necessarily believe in coincidences, things like that. Like, you keep coming across them, you keep hearing stuff like that, I just figured biblically I would give my thoughts in it. And once again, in no means am I, trying to teach. And I want to go to that too. I want to go to something in Timothy. That's very right when I think of that, because, when a woman is not supposed to teach, and that's not my intention at all, to be out of order, or anything like that. But I'm just giving my, my thoughts biblically. And, once again, as I mentioned in the beginning of this, when the Most High, gives you his word, and as it tell you in Acts, okay, he's going to pour his spirit on all flesh, and his handmaidens are going to prophesy. And once again, I don't like this, making like, I'm not, saying that I'm a prophet or anything like that, but when he shows you something, and you're supposed to speak, like I said, like, that's just, you know what I mean? But this is First Timothy. First Timothy. And even though it says here, say, but I suffer a woman not to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. So that's talking about in the churches and things like that. And so, it is certainly off. I just went there though because it's right above what I'm reading, but what I wanted to go to. But verse 13 is what I want to get to. 1 Timothy 1 and 13. For Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in transgression. Okay, so Adam was first formed. Then the woman was, so, once again, this is why the serpent, though, went to the woman, because she's the weaker vessel. All right, that goes into, what I'm saying, the hedge not being there. When we talked about Isaiah 1 and 8, all right, and then when we're talking about Luke 11, okay, about that when you're desolate and there is no hedge, then the deception can come in and there's the destruction, and so that's what the situation was, okay, and still is, okay. So it's like, well, once again, when I hear these things, clearly there's a lack of understanding. And then if there is, like, is there, seem like some kind of agenda to attack the women when the problem is there's no hedge there? Okay, that's the issue. That's the issue. So I want to go to Deuteronomy and just touch on, and I'm gonna go into this is Deuteronomy 22, and I'm just gonna give one example of all right, Deuteronomy 22, and I'll start at that 13. 22 and 13. If any man take a wife and go in unto her and hate her, and give occasions of speech against her, and bring up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid, then shall the father of the damsel and the mother and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city in the gate. And the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hated her. And look, and lo, he have given occasions of speech against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid, and yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city. And the elders of that city shall take that man and chastise him, and they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver, and give them unto the father of the damsel, because he hath brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel, and she shall be his wife. He may not put her away all his days. So as we read here in this example, this man's just bringing up these occasions of speech against this woman, but he lied on her. In this situation, we see that this is something that the men of Israel would have done. The Most High knows his people. This is why he put this in the law. So we don't have these customs anymore. We don't have this situation anymore, whereas though there's an arrangement. Okay, because obviously, clearly, this was an arrangement. If the parents had she was betrothed to, well, I'm assuming that she was betrothed. The parents had this the tokens of the virginity. They were able to spread it upon for the elders and prove that yes, she was a virgin. So this man is lying on her. So he just made up something to get out of it. See, that was the point. So this is something that you men do, okay? This is something that you do, and you still do it. And we're gonna go now. This is what I want to go to next, though. Okay, we could go through all these. Like I said, I had another video that I did about the bad relationships or whatever, but I went into through all these. But I'm gonna just jump to verse 28. Deuteronomy 22 and 20. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her and lie with her, and they be found, okay, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her. he may not put her away all his days. Okay, so this is in the law. Now, once again, as I mentioned often, if we would do these things, okay, if you understand that when you lay with a woman and you entice, well, we're going to go to, it doesn't say entice her here, but when you go to that in Exodus, and then I'm going to go to the Josephus and let that also tell you, okay, we all know, just as I mentioned before, and you men, you know that you do this. You entice a maid, you lay hold on her, you do that, and then you leave. You will leave. Once you get what you want, you will leave. Okay? It happens all the time. And then from these certain things, we all know, and once again, people act like they don't understand and they don't know that when you have sex, then there's that's what happens when you do. I mean, there's that possibility. Now, unless you go along with the what Babylon wants you to do and not procreate and be all out of order. That's why the promotion of sex so loosely is promoted. Okay. But if you're not on the so-called birth control and things like that, even I'll tell you one thing, I could certainly 100%, and I'm talking about with somebody that I was betrothed to, you certainly can be on birth control even still, and that can happen. I've heard it over and over again, and I can attest to that can definitely happen. So that is not a 100% guarantee. Only 100% guarantee is abstinence. Period. Like there's nothing else to it. Okay. Period. All right. So, who I was married to and did not know that already though in the world. But I mean, I'll just say it, with my children, their father, this situation where we were going to school together and we finished, this to get a certain certification or whatever. And while we were doing that, I was on, this full cover, and it didn't work. Okay. But I also, because of certain things, also was doing that because because of our first child, I didn't know, how, if he was really going to be right this time. So I was doing that. And we went to school and we finished or whatever, the program that we were in. And still, that happened. So once again, you men, you act like you don't know that when you do that, there's that possibility. So don't act like, oh, she got pregnant, this, that, and the third, and I don't want to be with her, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then don't do it. Okay, don't do it. I'm not saying that was, that whole, but I'm just saying that people act like they don't know that. And you want to talk about why there's so many single parents. You men, you act like you don't know that. Okay? So that's, so let's go to Exodus, okay? Exodus 22. All right. So as you see here, this doesn't mention anything about going and getting paperwork and things like that. Now people say that and there's all this stuff. Okay, fine. If that's what you want to do, that's good. But the reality of the matter is people act like single parent homes don't even result from people going and get their marriage license and marriage certificate, and the men or whoever, whatever the fault was, like people still don't go off and they still don't break up and they still, what you would call a divorce or whatever you call it. Okay, they act like that still doesn't happen. Okay, in this society when you're spiritually not right. And I've seen it with my own eyes, where as though people get this paperwork and they do this and that. But what my point about it is that it's a spiritual thing. Because even when people do this, I've seen it. The men still go off and don't do what they're supposed to do by their children. And the woman is left a single parent, trying to even with that, okay? And if anyone is then you can say, well, go get child support, whatever. But even if they do that, that still is not always. I'm telling you, I've seen even in certain positions that I've worked in, and I've seen things, and so people say, well, you didn't have a good man, okay? Well, what is a good man? Because I've seen what society would call a good man who's running from child support, and I'm talking about professional men who there's no excuse as to why they shouldn't be doing what they're supposed to do by their children. And like I said, every situation is different. I don't know what anybody's situation is, so I'm not going to say, you know what I'm saying, this or that. But I'm just saying, people say, well, you had a sorry man. Okay, well, what constitutes that? Is it based on his position in society, his job, his profession? What? Because I've seen the same exact scenario of a quote unquote deadbeat from a professional, what you would call a professional man, to a thug in the street. All right. So what constitutes that? You know what I'm saying? What are you basing that upon? A good man, quote unquote. Same thing with what are you basing these things on? Because I've seen what you would call a thug in the street be a heck of a good father, okay, and do what they had to do, and you know what I'm saying, take care of their family, versus so-called educated or whatever you would say, not only do the same, but not do the same. So what are people? This is what I'm saying. So what are you basing these things on? It comes down to, it's a spiritual thing. Let's go to Exodus 22, okay? Exodus 22 and 16. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. And then it goes into, if her father utterly refuse to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. Okay. So the father can utterly refuse, but that's, why, that custom of betrothal was a good thing, it was a blessed thing, as I mentioned before, in another one, when I was, but still, if a man entice a maid, so my dictionary is over there, but what is the definition of entice? Let's see. Okay, so entice, to lead on by exciting hope or desire, allure, inveigle. And so I know I could go into these definitions here, which would be good for me to do. But allure, okay, also means to lure in, to entice, okay, or to inveigle. Inveigle. Let's get the definition of inveigle. Okay, because that would be really good. All right, inveigle, to entice, lure, or ensnare by flattery, or artful talk, or inducements. Okay, to acquire, win, or obtain by beguiling talk or methods. All right, so now we're going to go to the Josephus. But as we read here in Exodus 22 and 16, okay, if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. Okay, so that that's what men do. That's what y'all do. And you do that, and you do it, and then because also a lot of times, because y'all don't, because we're in this situation, and we're not taught, okay, but a lot of men have a lust demon on them, and they're running here and they're running there, and like you even see little memes and you see little jokes all on stuff, but oh, it's spring now, or now it's time. I've seen, some little joke or something like that. Okay, now it's spring, or it's something season or something like that. Summertime, where as though now, or when winter come, now y'all gotta go make up with your girl. You know what I'm saying? Because you done dumped her. Because now it's summertime and all this, and that's the way you all think, and then you act like it's the woman. See, that's why so many single parent homes. Come on, man. All right, so let's go to Josephus, okay? Okay, this is Josephus against Apion or Apion, um, book 2, paragraph 25, and I could start at verse 199. I'll just start there. All right, but so I'll start at the top of paragraph 25. So, but then, what are our laws about marriage? That law owns no other mixture of sexes, but that which nature has appointed of a man with his wife, and that this be used only for the procreation of children, but it abhors the mixture of male with male, and if anyone do that, death is his punishment. 200. It commands us also, when we marry, not to have regard to portion. And so that also, I believe, is in Exodus 21, okay, where it says, you can't diminish your duty. If you do take another wife, then you ought not diminish your duty as a husband. Okay, so it's saying here not to have regard to portion, or also, also when it says with the children of that woman, you know what I mean? You can't treat the children of one, if one be hated and one be loved. You can't treat the children of the one loved. If that one of the one that's hated, the child is the heir. You can't, disregard that just because you love that other wife more. And so that's what you men do too, as well, in the world. Like, you, for whatever reason, you get another woman, and because you feel a certain way about this other woman, you treat the children by the other woman a certain kind of way. Okay, you do the same stuff. That's what you do. All right, nor to take a woman by violence. Okay, so when we're reading in Deuteronomy, when it's saying lay hold on, that is against our law. It's not talking about lay hold on like, violently force a woman. Okay, that's not what it's saying. Okay, because here clearly, you're not to take a woman by violence, nor to persuade her deceitfully and lavishly. Okay, and lavish is just what we read, to allure or inveigle, meaning to lure in with flattering words or trickery, deceit. Okay, so that's what lavish means. So you're not to do that, nor to persuade her deceitfully and lavishly. Okay, but to demand her in marriage of him who has power to dispose of her, and it is fit to give her away by the nearness of his family. Okay, and so then and I'm gonna keep going though, just to reiterate some of the things that we read in First Peter. Okay, the woman is the weaker vessel. All right, but also in Colossians chapter 3, before it says the scripture, a woman is inferior to her husband in all things. Let her therefore be obedient to him. So this, also in First Peter we read, not so that he should abuse her, but that she may acknowledge her duty to her husband. For God has given the authority to the husband. A husband, therefore, is to lie only with his wife whom he has married, but to have to do with another man's wife is a wicked thing. Okay, so no adultery. The Most High hates that. Okay, which, if anyone ventures upon, death is inevitably his punishment. No more can he avoid the same who forces a virgin betrothed to another man, or entices another man's wife. All right, so as we all just read, everything that we read here, we just read in Deuteronomy and in Exodus. And so, this is, but the point that I wanted to bring out here is just get some clarity too on the enticing. Okay, you men, you do that all the time. And you don't have, and this is why it says you're not to do it deceitfully. If you don't have intentions on being with this woman, and you should not be enticing her as if you do. And just as we read um in Deuteronomy, we were talking about when it gave the example of if the man, okay, so sometimes as we read in Deuteronomy also, what was it, verse 28, like if you are you know, he lay hold on a woman and they be found, meaning, you know, you've enticed this woman, you've allured her, you're dealing with her, and people see this, you've been found, all right, and you are sleeping with her, and you're not to put her away all the days. So the point that I'm saying is it's not enforced. So yeah, so that's pretty clear. And the point that I wanted to make bring out about it was that you're not to entice a woman deceitfully. You're not to do that. And you know, once again, I went here, you know what I mean, and I was doing this because it's always this thing about this constant blame on the women, constantly. The fact of the matter remains, and I think I'm just gonna, you know, leave it at that. The fact of the matter is that, you know, it's simple as love your neighbor as yourself. And if we were taught and do that, then there wouldn't be these issues between the men and between the women. And I was going to go to Amos, you know, I wanted to go there about, you know, some of the Amos chapter 7 about the judgments, okay, the certain ways and the attributes of the daughters of Zion at this point. Um, it tells you in Amos, you know, because of the evils that were being done by Israel, the men, you know what I mean, and Israel in general, but once again, the man, it is your responsibility because you are the head. And so, um, you know, it's very clear, okay, of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just in general, the woman was made to complement the man, but the woman is, if you know, and that's like I said, it's about understanding. If you know and understand that the woman is supposed to be in subjection to the man, that the woman, her desire is to her man, okay, then that's, you know, since, and that she's the weaker vessel, that they are your possession, with you not to abuse them. You know what I'm saying? But you are there. The man is the authority, and our men have, that whole thing has been taken out of your thought process. And you know, once again, this is a matter of understanding, you know, our situation. Um, and so to constantly be pointing the finger at the woman is just, it's clearly it's unlearned. And also I want to go to something in Ecclesiasticus as well, because also understanding, you know, the situation, then you know that especially coming out of the world and coming out of these judgments, most of the women are single parents, because most of the men are not brought up with the understanding of these, of the things that we just read. Most of them are not. And once again, when these things are not enforced, and there's this constant
um allowing of the irresponsibility of the men, like I said, as I talked about earlier, about, when there's always this constant, and it just is, it's just a known idea, it's just something just that's just there. Oh, it's just going to be on the woman if you have a baby. Like, that's just, it's just like a common thing, and that's just shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying? That is not the case. In reality, it isn't. But we don't seem to ever consider that. You know, and once again, there's always this picking and choosing of what constitutes a quote unquote good man. Like, what are people basing that on? Because I've just seen all kinds of scenarios. I mean, literally, certain positions that I've been in, that I've worked, I've seen. Whereas though, you know what I'm saying? Like, men who you would think wouldn't have to be running, from child support and things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then also, so that's my thing. Like, people say, well, you all chose the wrong man. Well, what constitutes that? What are you basing that on? What are you basing it on? Because you can't just simply say it's a thug in the street. You can't say that. Because I've seen what you would consider a thug in the street be a better father than what you would say is an educated man, quote unquote. You know what I'm saying? So what constitutes this is what I'm trying to figure out. So if it's not the law of God for our people, then what is it? You know what I mean? So, and once again, our people are always going on this. Well, if you are not married, this wedlock, this idea of what is wedlock, when the scriptures clearly tell you what marriage is. Marriage is sex, is what constitutes a marriage. I mean, yes, you can have a ceremony. Yes, you can have arrangements. Yes, you have betrothals. Yes, you have arrangements with parents and things like that. But the actual consummation of it, as we read in Genesis with Isaac and Rebecca, as we read in Genesis with our forefathers, Jacob, yes, they had a feast, but when they came into the chamber, the wedding chamber, okay, that's when you get the tokens of virginity and all that kind of stuff. So that's what it is, all right. And so you see clearly that the example in Deuteronomy where the man had this and he was trying to get out of whatever his marriage, so he was even willing to lie on this daughter of Zion and say that she wasn't a maid just so he could get out of the marriage. Why was he doing that? So clearly this is a spiritual thing. So you can, sure, if you want to do that and you go to the system and you get that paperwork and things like that, I mean, if that's what you do, but you understand, even if you understand the history behind the marriage certificate and why, you know what I'm saying, it was even also instituted. That's something people should look into as well. I mean, so before that, then, what were they doing that was called marriage? You know what I'm saying? So just stop. Like, you men need to really be what it is. Once again, as I go into, he that is at this time, he that is wicked, let him be wicked still, because that's what you're gonna do. All right. And he that is righteous, let him be righteous still, because that's what you're gonna do. And blessed are those that do hear and do the commandments of our God. And see, this is why it's so important, the law for us to be taught. All right, these things. You shouldn't entice a woman and lay with a woman and lay hold on her, and then you don't, after you get what you want, you go on and see, and then y'all want to come and say this is why so many single parents. And once again, that isn't always the case. And as I was mentioning before I went into that, about the aims, about your daughter, the daughters, the women would be harlots, in the city or something like that. It says, but that is part of judgment. And that judgment was on the men. Also, when you read, as I mentioned earlier before, when I went into Deuteronomy 28, Deuteronomy 28, and I believe it's verse 30. Okay, and why I didn't read it right then, that was tying into that Amos chapter 7. Okay, that's part of that, so that's, you know, part of some of the judgment. All right, this is Deuteronomy 28 and 30. Yeah, thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. All right, and also I'm gonna go to verse 41. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. All right, so that is, just talking about, you know, once again, some of the judgments for not keeping the commandments. So being in captivity, we're all, that's just the reality of the situation. Like, once again, you can say what you want. We are coming to the end of these judgments and things, so that why this is the mercy and the grace that's being bestowed on people, that we're learning these laws, what happened to us, and what we need to learn from to not do it. And loving your neighbor as yourself in Leviticus 19, that is the key. All right, and what the Messiah is telling you in John and in Matthew, like Romans, over and over and over again. But what it says in Romans, but what the Messiah, was saying, this is the whole point. All right, this is the whole point. If you love your neighbor as yourself, then so many, and that goes for the men and the women. Okay, don't do something to someone else that you wouldn't want done to you or your family or your loved one. Period. I mean, that's just, and it isn't difficult at all. It's not. It's not. So, my whole thing once again was, I just wanted to speak on that. And because, that when that keeps being said and perpetuated, like it's just the soul blaming everything on the women is so weak. And that's why I brought our Messiah into it, because he didn't do that. Okay? I want to get that right quick. Okay, and this is Isaiah 53, and I could start it. I want to start it. I might start it. I could start at 1, but I'll start at 1. I'll just start at 1. Okay. Who hath believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He hath no form nor comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of a higher, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he openeth not his mouth. And we can, this once again, this is, as we, like I go into often, and it's talking about, he had to open the disciples' understanding, and teach them, of him that was written of him already. And this is all throughout Matthew. Okay, this is when we're talking about the crucifixion, when all that was getting ready to go on.
Okay, and as we know, he was perfect, and but all this is going into this. All right, and as I go into often, that was all for the prophecies to be fulfilled. It was all, no one took his life from him, he laid it down. Okay, this is what I'm talking about, a real king. This is a real ruler. This is real leadership here. This is what a master does. This is what a king, this is what a real man who knows what he has to do does. Okay. All right. So 7, he was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he openeth not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off of the land of the living, for the transgression of my people was he stricken. And he, verse 9, and he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see the travail of his soul, and shall be satisfied. By his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. And so, I could go into, we go into Matthew and Luke, all right, and in Acts, okay, but we're talking about the Messiah here. So this is what he did. Kind of like when you think of Day of Atonement, when they would put all the transgressions on the scapegoat, all right, but the other one would be a burnt offering. Okay, but this is, as we see here, this is him here for us. All right, we could go into just all of the scriptures from Hebrews, okay, to Psalms. Okay, this was the body that was prepared him, okay, for us. Okay, like as I go to often, as he tell you in John, okay, um he laid down his life. No one took it from him, because he had the power given him of his father to lay it down and take it up again. But this is where all your faith comes in. Okay, so this he knew, but he knew this, and he knew what he had to do, and he did what he had to do as a leader for his flock, as the shepherd for his flock. He knew this is what. So my point being is, as you saw what Adam did, and what Eve did too. They all were playing a blame game, this, that, and the third. But what a real man does is they take responsibility, even for the weak, even for when they know they have that power, though, when they know that they are that man, when they know, you know what I mean, they do what they have to do, okay, to make things right for their people, for their family, for whoever, for whatever. So the men constantly trying to put this, regardless of what, okay, a man does what they're supposed to do. And this is what our Messiah did for us. He did what he had to do to save his people. Okay? He did what he had to do. And so I'm gonna go to I wanna go to let's see. Okay, so I really want to go to start at verse 16, but I'm going to start at chapter I'm sorry, verse 9. I'll start at 7, okay, just because. All right. So this is John, St. John chapter 10, verse 7. Then said Yeshua, this is Jesus here, unto them, again, verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. Verse 9. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out, and find pasture. Verse 10. The thief cometh not, but for to steal, and to kill, and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. I am 11. I am the good shepherd. As you see, I am is understand is beautiful. Okay, the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep. But he that is an hireling, and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming, and leaveth the sheep. Okay, I'm gonna go in, and I'm gonna, okay, wait, so, and fleeth, and the wolf catcheth them, and scattereth the sheep. Okay, and I just want to stop that right there. So just considering, thinking about where there's no hedge, you understand, then destruction can come in. So as you see, when we're talking about sincerity, so you see the hireling is not sincere. All right. And this is the type of men, sad to say, that is the case. Okay, it's a bunch of hirelings that are not sincere, that see the wolf coming. Okay, and we know who the wolf is, and we know what that is. All right, so this is once again why I want to go into, you cannot put your trust in man. Okay, you must rely on our shepherd here. We must rely on the word. We must rely on him. Okay, because it's not always the case that people are hirelings, but okay, it is a lot. All right, but he said, okay, here, let's go back to 11. Okay, but he that is an hireling, and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not. And as we went into before with First Timothy, see, we're talking about leadership and being a man. This is why I want to tie this into it, because this here is our example. Okay, and so as we read in Timothy, okay, he that provideth not for his own is worse than an infidel. Okay, all right, so once again, we're looking at our example of who we should be following, all right, in his ways. Okay, but he that is an hireling, and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming, and leaveth the sheep, and fleeth, and the wolf catcheth them, and scattereth the sheep. The hireling fleeth, because he is an hireling, and careth not for the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and am known of mine. As the Father knoweth me, even so I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold, and one shepherd. Therefore doth my Father love me, because I lay down my life, that I might take it again. No man taketh it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. This commandment have I received of my Father. All right, and that's real right there. Like that's something. Listen, but I also want to get a precept here, and then I'm gonna end it here though. But I'm gonna give a precept here. When we read, okay, when he's talking about he laid down his life for the sheep. So let's go to Ephesians, okay, and see, this is something that our people have lost. Our men, okay. I really want to read the whole chapter 5, and I might just do that and end it here. Um, yeah, because it's really relevant to everything. Okay. This is Ephesians chapter 5. Be ye therefore followers of the Most High as dear children, and walk in love as the Messiah also hath loved us, and hath given himself for us, an offering and a sacrifice to the Most High for a sweet smelling savor. For fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named amongst you, as becometh saints,
See, this is what we don't understand and we've forgotten as we read in Psalms as well. Okay, we're the saints of the Most High. Okay, we're the saints of God. We, the Israelites, the people. Okay, we have a specific role in this earth, and that is to be a good example and a light. All right, and so so let's keep reading though. Neither filthiness nor foolish talking nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. For this ye know, that no whoremonger, and that is something that our men have become, okay, because of Babylon, all this confusion, the spirit of lust, just straight ignorance. Once again, as I've mentioned about all the influence of the music and the programming box and all this stuff. Okay, this is the spirit that's pushed out to not be men and husbands, but to just be whoremongers, pretty much. And once again, I'm not trying to take away, but what the men must understand is that it's all about you. It is. You are the one that's responsible, and that's why I went there in John, and that's why I went in Isaiah, and I'm talking about the Messiah's example because he understands what a ruler does, what a leader, what a man, what the head does. Okay, they even will take on a responsibility for the good of everything. They will do what they have to do. You know what I mean? To make things all right with everything. And so you can't just it's not about the women. The man is the head is the point that I'm making. As I made that example, like with anything in any situation, when you have an issue, what do? You go to the head. That's what you do, and because that's who you expect to resolve it. So the men cannot keep putting this thing on the women. Like it's just all right. So, but let me okay. So which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Verse 5, for this ye know that no whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous man who is an idolater, hath any inheritance in the kingdom of Ahiah and of Yeshua and of Ahiah. So it says in the kingdom of Christ and of God. Let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things cometh the wrath of God upon the children of disobedience. Be not ye therefore partakers with them, for ye were sometimes darkness, but now are ye light in the Lord. Walk as children of light. So once again, people talking about, okay, yes, in this situation, there's going to be, everyone has made mistakes in darkness, and that's what I also want to go and ask. Okay, everyone. All right, but for ye were sometimes darkness, but now are ye light in the Lord. Walk as children of light. For the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness and righteousness and truth, proving what is acceptable unto the Lord. And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. For it is a shame even to speak of those things which are done of them in secret. But all things that are reproved are made manifest by the light. For whatsoever doth make manifest is light. Wherefore he saith, awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Okay? Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. And be not drunk with wine wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit, speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord, giving thanks always for all things unto the Most High and the Father, in the name of our Master or our Lord, Yeshua HaMashiach, submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of Ahiah. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as unto the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Yeshua, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, even as Yeshua also loved the church and gave himself for it. And see, that is something that the men have completely lost. It's not in their mind. It's not taught to them to think this way about their women and to be protectors of the children of their nation and the women. It's just totally gone. I mean, it's All right. That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. And that is all together in general. Okay, the women of your nation, they are of you. Okay, so to portray them and keep making it, and once again, it's all about lack of knowledge. Okay, our people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, the lack of the knowledge of the word. Okay, as we just read, okay, that is how you're going to be washed and cleansed and sanctified through the word. And this is something that our people are lacking. And so to continuously put one thing on just the women who is the weaker vessel, okay, that's not standing up and doing your rightful position as a man. Okay. So for no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it, even as the Lord the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. Okay? For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and they shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. All right. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. So when a woman's not taught this, and when we read in Titus, the aged women are supposed to teach the daughters this, how to love their husbands and their children, but they weren't taught. So how can you teach it? So there's also that disconnect. When we're talking about the making of a slave, there's that disconnect between the older and the younger, which is also important. Okay, it's beyond important. All right, it's a woman can't know how to love. That is a certain kind of knowledge, and there's a terror of that with our women, because you're so mistreated by men. You to solely be able to give yourself over to it has to be taught. It has to. That has to be a learned thing, and if it's not taught, it can't properly be done. Now, I've certainly seen it in certain situations with even in some of my family members. I've seen the wife totally reverence her husband, but her husband was, this is a family member. He was a provider. Okay, he, you know what I'm saying. He provided well for his household, and I never saw her. That was an example that I totally was like, even as a little child, when I saw that, I was like, wow, it even actually was kind of, until I got a little older, teenagers, I actually admired it, but it was so foreign to me that, it was kind of, I was like, wow, like kind of marveled at it, but, that is the way that it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? It is. And you just don't see that often, but you also often don't see the men being a provider like that. And, that's just the truth. And so, I'm going to go to one more thing. I'm in Ecclesiasticus. As I had mentioned, I said I wanted to get, okay, because it also is important, because considering what we just read here, and because when you look at other nations, let's just be for real. You don't see the men. I'm sure that they all have issues. But you don't see it. Like, you don't see them out here blasting their women like that. Like, you just don't. You know what I mean? You don't see that. You don't at all. And, yes, our women have issues. Yes, they do. But we just went down some of the reasons as to why that is. And yes, the men have issues. We all do. But that's where that understanding comes in. You know what I'm saying? That's where that understanding comes in. Okay? Um, Ecclesiasticus 4 and verse 10. Okay, be as a father unto the fatherless, and instead of a husband unto their mother, so shalt thou be as the son of the Most High, and he shall love thee more than thy mother doeth. Okay, and I just want to read 11 too. All right, wisdom exalteth her children, and layeth hold of them that seek her. He that loveth her loveth life, and they that seek to her early shall be filled with joy. And I wanted to just go there because it's wisdom to know to not just be putting your women on blast and to protect your women and your children. See, that's why I wanted to go here because, you know, um, I also want to go to, I know this is pretty lengthy, but it's all very relevant and important, okay? Be as a father unto the fatherless, and instead of a husband unto their mother. So clearly this is telling you here, all right, this situation here is of someone being a father to the fatherless, but more so that than a husband to their mother. All right, and then what does it say here? So shalt thou be as the son of the Most High, and he shall love thee more than thy mother doeth. And I want to, that is so important because when you go to Isaiah, all right, what is he saying here? And then I'm gonna get something else too in Exodus. Okay, this is Isaiah 16. Wash ye, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do well. Seek judgment. Relieve the oppressed. Judge the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Okay, so this is something that is very important to the Most High. Okay, let's go to Exodus 22. Yeah, I believe it's Exodus 22. Pretty sure it is. All right, Exodus 22 and 22. Ye shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If thou afflict them in any wise, and they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry. And 24, and my wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword, and your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless. Um, Now, so let's go to Psalms. I believe it is. The Most High don't play about that. So you see, he really serious when it comes to the fatherless and the widow. And I want to get something else too about the widow too. I'm gonna get that in Matthew. I know I said I was going to end it, but this is just something to remember that some kind of lacking with the men of our people. You supposed to protect your women and children, okay? It's beyond important. That is your possession. That's your stuff. That's your life there. You don't, but people don't understand that. Um, this is Psalms. Uh, yeah, 82. Okay, 82 and 1. A higher standeth in the congregation of the mighty. It might even be 81 too, but yeah, but I'm a 82 and 1. A higher standeth, God, as it says here, standeth in the congregation of the mighty. He judgeth among the gods. How long will ye judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked? Selah. Defend the poor and and fatherless. Do justice to the afflicted and the needy. So you see here that he's very serious about the fatherless and the widow. I'm gonna go to I want to go to something in that. Was it John? And just consider why the Messiah said this. Let's just think about this. Um, is it? Let's see something. Okay, yes. I'm gonna start at verse 20. I'll start at 20. I could start at 25. Okay. Now there stood by the cross of Yeshua his mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. When Yeshua therefore saw his mother and the disciple standing by whom he loved, he saith unto his mother, Woman, behold thy son. Then saith he to the disciple, Behold thy mother. And from that hour that disciple took her unto his own home. Okay, but you know that at that time Mary was a widow. Okay, so and also when you read in I believe it's First Maccabees. Okay, when you read about when they were besieged before they actually really were besieged by the Grecians. Okay, you know when they went into we can get it, but when they went into the temple and they there was a certain store of the temple that they were trying to get um them to give them or tax them by. They was like, no, we can't give you of this treasury because this is set aside. This is given us in trust of certain members of the society, and also this is for the fatherless and the widows. So it was something that our people understood. It was that we took care of the fatherless and the widows. Okay, and so that's just because it's that's just women need the men. Like you could say whatever you want, but that's just the reality of the situation. It wasn't so like how this is now. Like women needed it's known, it's natural. All right, for the women to be taken care of. All right, this is all some old extra, of independent women. No, that's unnatural. And so I just went there just to say, you know what I mean, um, to bring light on that. Why do you think the Messiah said, "Look out for my mom"? Okay, because that's the way it was then, you know. Um, so where there's this thing where we're taught to not depend on our men, and then because of that, the men just have this lack of responsibility, a lack of sense of responsibility. And like as I mentioned in the beginning of this before, like it was put out there, in songs and everything, especially when I was younger, you know what I mean? Like as if it's this terrible thing to take care of a woman. And as if it's this whole thing for a woman to, it was this spirit being put on them to be like men, just be loose, be out there. Don't think of because they ain't gonna be with you. They're not gonna do right by you. So just get money from them. And then there's this thing of don't all they want is money. So don't think about marrying them or settling down with these hoes. You know what I'm saying? So this is the thing. It's been put out there like this is part of that crafty counsel. Okay, I mean that's just the reality of it. And to keep promoting that separation when that's what you're doing when you constantly try to put this blame on the women, because then this hardens the women. They feel as though the men are against them, and it's vice versa as well. Okay, and that's something that people with wisdom need to be, you know what I'm saying? That is wisdom to understand that that's what's going on here. To keep this separation and unnatural order of things. And naturally, the way the society is, there's going to be single parents because this is the society that's been groomed. Okay, this is the result of promiscuity and lack of responsibility, and then putting it on the woman. See, that makes the woman hardened and feel as though she has to be independent because it's just the man's just scot free, and that's taught, and everyone knows that it's just taught. I was watching a movie years ago, but in this movie, I forget the name of it, but of course it shows another. It doesn't show Israelites, but it shows this woman where as though it's like a one night stand. I forget the name of it. She ends up getting pregnant or whatever, and they weren't married, and he was like this childish man, but then he gets it together. You see, he realizes what a man is supposed to do, and he gets it right. And that could be the case with our men if that were promoted in our world, in our world, what I'm saying? But it isn't. It's the complete opposite. Okay? And so I just want to end it with this. Romans, because it just really is indeed high time to wake up. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Um, okay, and so, this all ties into why the Messiah did that as well, though. This is, what the ignorant state that he knew that we would be in, because all things written must come to pass. And so that included Deuteronomy 28th chapter. So now we're being awarded being wicked ignorance. The reality is that there are going to be single parents, both on both ends, because of the confusion and the judgments that we've been placing. But this is the grace, okay? And so this is Romans 13. I'll start at 8. Owe no man anything but to love one another. But he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. For this, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet, and if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. 10. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. 11. And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than we believe. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and in drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying, but put ye on the Lord Yeshua HaMashiach, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof. Okay, and so that's just so clear. All right, we've all made mistakes in our life, and that's another thing that I hear with that situation, but what, this is where it all boils down to: what constitutes what is a good man and what isn't. You can't just base it solely on carnal things, because I've seen all situations. The reality is that our people need to do this: love each other, okay, and love worketh no ill to their neighbor. And I've gone into the Josephus, and I've gone into Deuteronomy, and I've gone into what that law is there for, okay, to that we are to, given this grace, all right, we are to learn to do well, because that judgment, that's his sword, is his judgment. He tell you that unless he fight against you with the sword of his mouth. So the things that he's speaking, his judgment, then we're talking about the creator of heaven and earth. All right, so when he's talking about none can deliver out of his hand is as I go too often as well. So what we need to be doing is what Isaiah learning to do well and then doing it. Do right by each other. It's just that simple. Okay? We need to learn that our bodies are the temple of the Most High, and that we're not to be promiscuous, or you know how I'm trying to say this, but we're not to be out here just fornicating all over the place. Okay, now he winketh ignorance, but once you know, then we're supposed to repent, wash ourselves in the Word, and make ourselves clean and be right from there on. And also, something that I wanted to get, but I wanted to mention about in Corinthians. I think it's um, First Corinthians 7:27 through 32. I'm trying to end it here, but it also, Paul is talking about the time, like as we read in Ephesians, was that that the days are evil. So at this point, and just as the disciples asked the Messiah, I think that's in Matthew 19, I believe it is. Okay, when they're like, look, then maybe we shouldn't get a wife. Then if that's the case, you can't put her away. So except to be for fornication. All right, so maybe it is good that we shouldn't marry. And just as Paul said, if you're loosed from a spouse, then don't seek one, because and as you read on down through chapter 7 down to about 32, it's telling you that the married person careth for the things of their spouse more so than the cares of the Messiah. And right now we're coming out of captivity, and there's much work that needs to be done as far as spreading the gospel. So it's a matter of you know, um, timing, and caring for the things of the Lord versus the things of the world to please your spouse. So that also is something to consider. If you have it, I mean, it is indeed a blessing to have a spouse. But if there's certain work that the Most High has for you to do, that may not even in itself always be the best thing for you. And so that's something to just wait on the Lord for Him to bring what He will in your life for His purposes. And so sometimes it is just as Paul said, but I think, I have the Holy Spirit, that's what he's saying, Paul is saying, so that's his advice. You shouldn't be seeking, if you're loose from a spouse, don't seek one, especially at this time. Okay, because these are these days are evil. Even so when you reading in Micah, it's saying, it's telling you, um what does it say? Don't even speak so much, to the wife of your bosom. I don't like the misquote scripture, but pretty much he's saying like it is to the point in these days so much so you can't even just be telling everything to your spouse or whatever. Like that's the days that we're living in. So, that's just something to consider as well. But the main point, though, besides those things, is what we read in Ecclesiasticus. Okay, our men need to be seriously trying to groom the children, in the way of the Most High for this in righteousness, more so than out here just trying to get their rocks off. You know what I mean? Like, or however you would put that, but you get the point. And so, hopefully that all, tied together and maybe give some comfort just to, to some of these. It's some things, but we've all erred, you know what I mean? And nobody goes into something to be left with children that have to do everything all by themselves. That's just insane to even say that something like that is somebody's own fault. Especially when you don't know everybody's situation. So to generalize that is just not even, you know what I mean? It's just, it's not logical, especially that clearly there's an agenda or a clear lack of, and even still, that's a lack of understanding, to even begin to say, something like that. So with that, I'm just going to say shalom.